guys, what are we gonna do today? Today we're gonna use tea towels again, and we are making this cute little apron, and we're gonna do this cute little snap-on pocket with some decoupage. So let's get started. So we have 2 tea towels. One is gonna be for your actual apron, and the other tea towel we're gonna use to make a pocket, and we're also gonna be using it for the tie around the waist. I wanted a cute little rounded edges at the bottom of this apron. What I'm gonna do is just lay this bowl right here and just draw this line. And then I'm just gonna cut this rounded edge through both of my fabrics. So I can see my seam goes to the back, and I can either do this on a machine or by hand. And I think I am just gonna do it by hand. And it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just gonna steam this down a little. Do the same thing with the other side. And like I said, if you don't want to, you can just leave them square. So I'm just gonna hand stitch these. I said they could be done on the machine, but I'm just gonna hand stitch this. This is not an area that I'm too worried about lots of use. So it's probably not going to come apart. I might just do a little whip stitch, but you could just do a running stitch also. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the other side the same way I did this side, and we'll just iron it flat. So after you've sewn your 2 rounded edges, and I think that really does make a difference, but like I said, you can leave them square if you'd like. Now what we're going to do is gather the top and cut the strips to tie around. So now what I'm going to do is take the top of the apron. I'm just going to do a running stitch and gather the top to however wide I would like it, and I'm using a heavier thread. I decided I'm gonna knot one end so it's just easier to pull just the other. And I'm just gonna start right underneath where this finished seam is and just do a running stitch right across real quick. Okay, so when I get to the end, you just wanna make sure you have enough thread that actually goes if it was opened. So you're gonna put it up and decide how tight or how loose you would like it. And so when you get to the spot you want, then just do a tack stitch at the end, and it'll keep you at the exact size you would like. So for my straps, I'm going to use the other tea towel, and what I did is I folded it in half and folded it in half again from the top edge. And I just drew lines every 3 inches because I'm gonna want 3 of these strips, which I'm gonna put together to do my tie around my waist. You can add more, you can add less, depending if you like to tie your apron in front or in back. You might need more or less. And so all I'm gonna do is just cut these 3 strips and sew their ends together. So now I'm gonna sew the 3 strips together so I have one big long strip. So I just sewed these 3 strips together. So you have one big long strip. And just make sure your seams like here and here are on the same side when you're sewing them together on the inside. And I'm gonna cut part of this bulkiness off of this. So what I'm gonna do next is iron this. I'm gonna fold it in half. Okay, so now after I folded it in half, I have a guide, and it's almost like making a bias tape where I'm folding the 2 ends into the center. I'm just gonna refold it one more time here and just iron it down. Even though I'm gonna be opening it up to sew it, it just keeps it a little bit smoother. So what I did is I folded my trim in half, and so this is the center. And then I would just fold this in half and kind of mark the center. And I know it's right here where my needle is. So when you have your pieces folded like this, you're just going to figure out where the center was. And this is my back side. And I am just going to pin this right here to mark that. I'm just going to put a couple pins in so I know where I'm at. So you can see I unfolded this piece and this is lining up against the back edge. What we're going to do is just sew right here. And then when we're done sewing that seam, we're going to bring this up and fold it over the top and do a top stitch. So what I'm going to do now is on the back side, I'm sewing the strap only where the apron waist is. So I'm bringing this over. And at this point, I can just take this gather stitch out. Unless you've sewn through it, and then you're not going to see it anyway. Okay, so lay this flat where your crease is. Bring this top over. And this is the front of the apron. And we're going to do a top stitch over this top seam, but we're going to go across the whole strap. So I'm just going to pin just a couple spots here so it doesn't move on me. I want to make sure this is folded over the seam. So I'm going to take my strap now and just fold it and sew all the way down. Okay, so we've got this sewn on here. I'm gonna iron this flat, and then what we're gonna do is we are going to make our pocket. So I took the rest of the second tea towel, folded it in half, and then I folded it in half again. So we have 4 layers here, because I want this pocket to be kind of heavy duty. And what I'm gonna do is cut this out, and I just drew out a template on some paper. So cut out whatever shape, size, whatever you would like. So I'm going to sew around this whole outside edge and turn it inside out. Okay, and then you can just trim closer to the seam if you need to. And I'm not real worried about this pocket being super finished. If I was, I would have sewn 2 and 2 and put one inside of the other and it would look completely lined. I just am using 4 layers just to make it a little sturdier. Let's turn them right side out. Just gonna iron this flat. Then I'm gonna fold the top edge down and do a top stitch around it. So I'm opening the top up and I just folded the top edge back and I'm just doing a top stitch across the very top of it. Okay, so I'm gonna decorate my pocket, and I had these really cute decoupage papers. They're like a 10-pound weight, so they're very thin tissue, and I wanted to make them strong. So I just put this on a piece of steam-a-seam, and I am going to cut this out and iron it, and it gives it a little stability here. The biggest thing on cutting this part is you want to make sure none of the steam-a-seam is showing, otherwise it'll stick to your iron. So the one thing you want to remember, which I forget half the time, and you really don't want to forget this part. I'm using a piece of parchment paper over the top of the ink. Otherwise, you may get ink on your iron. I'm just going to cut it out how I want it. I'm going to peel the back side of the steam-a-seam off, right here. And I have another piece that I've already done that too. I've took the steam-a-seam off, and it's still kind of tacky, sticky. I am going to iron it to the front of my little pocket. Okay, with this though, I need to make sure I trim this before I iron it all the way down. Once again, don't forget, put your parchment paper on top of this. Okay, I am going to seal this. And then we're gonna put snaps on it to put onto our apron. So I'm just using a polyacrylic finish on this. And you can use whatever you'd like. I just want it sealed enough that if something got on here, I could wipe it off. I'm not actually going to be sealing the whole pocket. I'm just going over where my paper is. And if a little gets on the fabric, it really doesn't matter. But it'll definitely keep my tissue paper nice and safe, because I just love this, and I think this is so pretty on here. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry real quick, and then we're gonna put our snaps on. So I put my apron on, and I decided where I wanted my pocket. And what I did is I took another piece of the tea towel and just did a little strip, a little smaller than the top of this. Because I'm gonna put a snap here, and this fabric is so thin, I'm afraid that it just might rip because it's so thin. So I folded this little strip, and I'm pinning it here so I know where I'm putting it. And I'm putting 2 snaps on the back of here, so we can put it on here. And these are just white plastic snaps. I had picked this up at Joann's, but we'll try to find a link and put it on there for some of my favorite things. So what I'm gonna do is, normally you would just make a little hole through your fabric, just like this. And I'm gonna put one right here. So for this side, I'm gonna put my snap in the back. And I want the tip of this piece to go through all of my holes. Put these round ones right here, because there's different parts to it. And this is a little tool that you squish it shut. Let me just get in here. And the back side is on a plate. So you want to make sure your back piece is on this plate. This top part is covering this plate, and you just squeeze it. And there you go. I'm going to do this side the same way. Push this up and through. And I am going to use this rounded piece. Let me show you with the other piece. This one's a little flatter, and I'm going to put that onto the actual pockets. Okay, this is on here. Now let's put him onto the pocket, and we'll just clip him on. Mark this so I know where I'm going. Putting this from the inside facing out. Snaps in here, snaps on here. Let's see how well we did. Snap this in, snap this in, there you go. So my thought process on this was your aprons get dirty and you do need to wash them, but you probably cannot wash this decoupage paper. But at least right here you could wipe it all down and you can unsnap this. Okay, this really was easy. I hope I made it look that way. Look how cute this is. A little pocket is on there. You have your little rounded corners there. And you can just unsnap your pocket when you want to wash it. So I hope you guys try this out. Fun little tea towels, a little decoupage, or maybe even add some extra trim or sewing around your pocket. But have fun.